darkest time. We will rise.
This is the rhythm of change.
In the darkest time.
This is the sound of redemption.
We will rise.
This is the way that we bring it.
In the darkest time.
This is the way that we bring it down.
We will rise.
Down, down,
I can't deny what I see, what I see.
down, down, down. Down, down,
I can't deny what I see, what I see.
down, down, down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom.
We will,
These are the things that will bring it down.
we will rise.
Down, down,
I
down.
can't deny what I see, what I see.
Down, down, down. Down, down,
I
down.
can't deny what I see, what I see.
Down, down, down.
We will rise.
So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud.
We will
Let's
rise.
bring it down. Let's bring it way down.
We will rise.
Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down.
We will rise.
Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down.
In the darkest time.
Down, down, down. Down for the down, down, down.
In the darkest
Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down.
We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. Come on. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
Okay, down. I get the feeling that all those people who sat down and all those naysayers, I'm not going to mention your name, Eric, and all those other people who really said, oh, nothing's going to happen, are really doing one or the other. Either having a great deal of new delicacy called humble pie, followed by a side order of crow, or have decided to stand up and support the movement.
So when you say, well, firstly, good morning, everybody. So when you say nothing was going to happen, were naysayers, what are you referring to?
I'm talking about the people who said that children will not be convicted.
Oh, well, look. So here's what I want to say about this, right? And I posted this on my page. I am grateful and surprised. See, grateful and surprised. Not a naysayer, but surprised. And surprised because for 400, and let's get perspective here. Folk are dancing in the streets, celebrating, right? These peaceful protests all the time. But here is where the dysfunction is. Here is where we see the deep conditioning of the Black American here in America. If a black man was on trial for killing a white man, and you had the video of a black man's knee in the neck of a white man, right? And then the jury convicted the black man, you wouldn't see white America in the street celebrating. You wouldn't see them in the street. Wait a minute, let me finish. You wouldn't see them having peaceful protests because they would expect, based on history, that the system would work for them. The reason why black people are so jubilant right now is because this is like Christmas Day to them. It's like a present that was given to them by the corporation of white supremacy. And so they're running around like a bunch of fucking children, happy to have a present. And I'm saying to you, this should be the norm. This is as dysfunctional as if you had the New York Giants go and play a kindergarten school team and win and then celebrate and do dances in the end zone. Yo, you would expect them to beat the kindergarten team. So act like you've been there. But we can't act like we've been there because we've never been here. So grateful that there's been accountability. But black people, stop saying this was justice.
No, it's not justice. This is a good first step. See, justice has to deal with a level of repair and restitution or reciprocity, which basically means they pay those people in which they wrong, in which the family of Floyd have been paid. Big lawsuit. And in fact, today we're going on the Three Wise Ones. We're going to have Mr. Floyd's sister, who is the president of the Floyd Foundation, on the show early. But it's a matter of this. This is justice for one. What we talked about Tuesday, when I said you're going to have to start smelling the change coming, is that the change is coming. On the federal level now, they have started to investigate that state in terms of their policing and handling and charges that have been made. So you're looking at a great deal of things that may be overturned. Also, today, hitting the Senate floor is the George Floyd bill being pushed. So we're looking at change, solid change.
Right. So what I'm going to say is this, right? My faith is with the progressives in the party, not the moderates, right? My faith, and I told you this from the beginning, was with the movement that Bernie Sanders has fueled, not the moderates. The moderates are fighting against the progressives, right, within the Democratic Party. Let us not be fooled about that, Vincent. That any gains that you may think that you see that we should be hoping for are not coming from Biden. They're coming from the AOCs of the world. They're coming from the Ilhan Omars of the world. They're coming from the Ayanna Presleys of the world who are saying, we ain't taking this shit no more. Those are the ones I emptied my pockets for in the last election. Those are the ones I emptied my pockets for. And those are the ones, because they got that money from people like me and those small donations, can have the courage that I still say your president lacks.
Well, here's the thing. Now, we discussed Tuesday that the president, as you therefore stated, and I agree, that the president does have his knee on the scale in terms of what hits the floor. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, he's got his knee on the scale. It is hitting the floor. Now, the AOCs and all those other people are doing great things. But
No, they're doing phenomenal
no,
things.
no, no. Let me finish.
Phenomenal things.
No.
Phenomenal things.
Well, your phenomenal is my great.
Yeah,
Okay?
they're doing phenomenal
Now,
things. If
no,
it weren't for them,
no, please, Eric, you're not going to let me finish. We're just
no,
going
I'm
to
gonna let you
show off
finish.
this way.
I'm gonna let you
Okay.
finish.
Now, they have been doing great.
Phenomenal
How-
things.
However, I'm not going to give them total credit for this because you're looking at the Black Lives Matter movement, the quote unquote hashtag. Not only to the simple fact of having Black Lives Matter painted in the street, but now dancing in the street celebrating a victory, a milestone, something in this country that has never happened. So no, I'm not going to marginalize that. I'm not going to minimize that, and I'm not going to shift the credit to a lot of people who did help, but not in its totality. I am saying that this is a victory for all Black America. This is a victory for democracy. This is a victory for fairness and equality. This gives me something that I can tell my children with a level of certainty. Son, this can happen, and we can therefore count on this president to protect you. Not
How
President
low
X,
is your
President
bar,
X.
Vincent? How low is your bar?
How low is my bar?
How low is your bar? I mean, your bar is so low that you can go over it on your belly. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Eric, we're not going to kitchen sink this. We're not going to sidetrack this. Let's call this victory for what it is. It's a good first step. If you can't acknowledge that, then what the hell are you doing?
No, it's not a good first step. Call or go.
Good morning, Jody.
You got to speak up, Jody.
Your mic's breaking up, Jody.
Vincent said that today on the Senate floor, the George Floyd bill is coming in. And that's not, again, right? That's not even misinformation. That's a fucking lie. So today.
Excuse me, I just heard it.
Wait,
20
let
minutes
her.
ago.
So today, Cory Booker and a Republican senator are working on a revision for a different bill that would be more acceptable for the Republican Party to backload. And I'll give more perspective as opposed to the headline, right?
Jody, those are two different headlines.
The short Floyd bill, they're asking for no chokehold, a federally mandated no chokehold. Federally mandated, it's another one. And Cory and this other gentleman's bill, they're asking for things like fines will be assessed and put on police departments that do not ban chokeholds state by state or county by county. The bill will be that if they do not mandate it in their police department, that if it should happen, then that police department or that state will be fined by the federal government. The George Floyd bill is nowhere near the Senate floor. Yes, there's
Okay, well, here.
about it today. Listen, wait a minute. You just said on this show, I said I'm not going to call in. I'm going to just let Eric beat up on him for a while to give this.
Then why did you go with your first thought, Jody, and spare us the 20 minutes?
What you just said, I wrote it down and understand it. You said, and today, the George Floyd bill hits the Senate floor. That's a lie. That was a lie. That wasn't misinformation. That wasn't getting it confused. You didn't just hear that 20 minutes ago. Nowhere in the country did you hear that 20 minutes ago on no TV show. But yes, for the last 2 days, they have been discussing that Cory Booker and a Republican, I think his name is Moore, are working on another bill that would go on the floor and get passed. They're also, as they're working on the bill, they're already trying to divvy up and see how many Republicans will pass that bill. So here we are in this space, right? And we're
Okay,
going to
well,
take
let me-
something other. We're going to
Okay.
take something softer. We're going to do the easier road. They're going to say,
she get a time limit?
So we put no so-called dead from this, from the, on the federal level, in every police department across this country. So we got to soften that. We got to say, well, if you do, check how we expect it on the back end. So no, we're not going to federally mandate that police officers can no longer do chokeholds, right? We're going to say the next time you chokehold and a Negro dies, we're going to fine you for that. Are you kidding me? What justice do you see today? Do you actually? You said to Eric that you can tell your son, but this was the first step. What? For real, what delusional dream are you living in?
Well, Eric, I think that, since Jody is a constant contributor to the show, that she should get some time limits.
Just talk, Vincent. But I think that listen. So wait a minute. But when you do get time to talk, right? Instead of you using that time to just talk about whatever it is you want to talk about, to spend the time, if the time is valuable, then just take the time that you now have and make your point.
Okay,
there we go.
The point. In terms of what world that I live in. See, first and foremost, let's backtrack this. Now, at the conviction of Derek Chauvin, Cory Booker therefore put into action and got it under a great deal of bipartisan. So that is what we're talking about in terms of moving forward. Now.
No, but you said it was hitting the Senate floor.
Please let me.
No. But I want to address the one thing at a time, right? But so you can talk about, which is true, right? And we were going to get to it, and I have the Vox article to talk about where they are in terms of the bill. But your comment was that it was hitting the Senate floor, not that Cory Booker, was working on an amendment to it. That's different.
Right. Well, excuse me. The amendment.
Okay, that's different.
The Senate floor.
That's different.
Okay, and they were working on that since the conviction. Now.
But what does that have to do with Biden?
Excuse me. What does it have to do with Biden?
Yeah, because you started off by saying.
Are you not the one that said Biden has his thumb on the scale in terms of what hits the floor fast?
Right, but
so are you saying that this bill would not be hitting that fast without the input of Biden?
No, but the question is whether it's hitting the floor or whether. Wait a minute. Hear what we're saying now. This is why Jody called in. And Jody, I was going to get to it, but there were some more things I wanted to talk about in terms of the mentality of Black Americans as they're dancing in the streets over this verdict. But with regard to this, since we're on it, I just want to, because it's more than just a nuanced difference, Vincent, because the statement that you made implied, right, or went further than implied, it stated that movement of the bill was occurring because of Biden's influence and that it was hitting the floor. That's what you said.
No. What I was inferring to, that movement of this bill is not, and because of the quote unquote progressives, the AOCs, and the squad. No, it is more of everybody. It's not.
No. That's not what I'm talking about.
It's now pushing for bipartisan.
No. That's not what I'm talking about. No. That's not what you said. And I just want to be clear. No,
that's not what you heard.
No. Well, I want to go back and I want to. No.
It was not the progressives.
Okay. No.
I was saying that it was more the hashtag that we talked about, the Black Lives Matter.
No. I want to go back because I just want.
Let's go back even further. Sheila Jackson Lee is a part of the squad or the progressive.
Right.
But she's been pushing hard with this too.
Right, but I want to go back to what you said. You made a point of asking me or stating something that I said in an earlier show where I said Biden had his thumb. You used knee, I said thumb, but thumb on the scale in regards of what hits the Senate floor. Right? And then after you said that, you then said that this bill was hitting the Senate floor. Ergo, Biden is responsible for it. That's why Jody called. I'm going to tell you. And so now,
But wait a minute. Aren't you the one that says Biden has a great deal of responsibility for what hits the floor?
no,
That's why this isn't
but
on
the
the floor,
point,
and
but the
that's
but
why
the
the
point
other one
is,
isn't on the floor.
but the
Is
no,
that
no,
not
no,
what
it
was
is.
said
But
Tuesday?
but what we're asking is, and what Jody is clarifying, and what's clarified in this Vox article as well is, it's not hitting the floor. They're talking about some revisions to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
So
actually,
it's not hitting the floor.
Whoa. Excuse me. And I'm quoting CNN
Go ahead.
that the revisions were the revisions drafted by Cory Booker was Wednesday and has been pushing through for bipartisan support.
Right. When is it hitting the floor, Vincent? When is it hitting the floor? When is it hitting the floor? In that article.
The official, because now I'm going into the Senate schedule. But go ahead. I'll tell you when. I'll go.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right.
I'll tell you when I get it.
So that's the problem, right? And that's the problem we had on Tuesday, right? We throw something on the wall, right? He was so excited to say that Tuesday's show, that's over. You guys go wrong, and I am right. He came on the air with, some self-righteousness, and he was going to put it in place. And he lied. He lied. That anyone would call him on his lies. Now, he's surfing again. I keep telling you, he's just surfing. He just, he doesn't even read it. He doesn't obviously listen to it because he said specifically it was going to
No. What I want to do is get specifically.
Sitting the floor, right? They're running around, and guess what? Let's take it even so. Let's take it to what really happened on that day when the verdict came and why we're here today, right? So the verdict comes down. I watched it all. I read it all. I do that so that if I do want to call into this show, at the very least, right? I'm not going to lie. And I'm not going to give misinformation. I'm going to do it the best of my ability because I respect myself enough to want to know. I respect my community enough. I want to know. Okay.
Okay,
So
now.
when it happens, right? On every television, on every newscast, I'm running, tasting it. Maxine Waters was on Joy Reid. Joy Reid said to her, so what about that George Floyd bill? I've never seen a black person dodge their own people. She refused to answer that question. She talked about dancing in the street. She talked about jubilant. She talked about Black Lives Matter. And then she talked about, and so many things are going to happen in the future. She dodged it. The sister who was with the congresswoman from Florida was the police chief and said there were problems with the bill. I was like, you never heard that one before. There were problems with the bill. Al Scarleton got up after he did some Jesus Bible beating, mass hysteria, mass confusion of humanity. He said he wanted to thank Joe Biden. And from the moment he walked out his door to announce that he's president, he was pushing it forward. And then we got Joey on the screen. And when Joey talked, Joey said that brown and black people should be good today. We should be happy today because we made a big step. He never mentioned the fucking bill. He never mentioned legislation. He said he tried to make the state house on the scenario where he said, and we would hope that police department would hold them accountable, right?
Okay, well,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Can
Right. Yeah.
See the politics turning. You can see that the AOCs of the world, as Eric said it, and the activists of this country, not the politicians, not the Democratic fucking party, not the Republican party. He is so right that the movement of progress for people has started throwing pressure down because by 11 o'clock that night, it was all about
Right. So Vincent, so
Yes.
would you agree? Would you agree that the single most important thing, right? Well, I shouldn't say single most because there's a lot, right? But one of the most important things right now is is representatives having the courage to pass this bill, to move
Yes.
it and then pass this bill, make it law,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so would you agree that right now there is hand wrangling and there is negotiations about what we may have to give up, what we may have to dilute and water down in order to appease Republicans? Would you agree that
No.
that is the
I-
Wait a
I
minute.
don't
Wait,
agree
wait,
to
Joe,
that part.
Jody, let him talk. Go ahead.
Why do I not agree to that part?
No, that's
Is
happening right now.
Well, I don't think that that's happening right now. I think what's happening, and this is my opinion, and I've read NPR and some other information, that what they're doing right now is eliminating the, by going bipartisan, eliminating the stops or the oppositions for this going forward and passing unanimously.
What do you mean by that?
Well, one thing that they have done is gotten some bipartisan support to now go after Tim Scott, Republican in South Carolina. They've also gotten a great deal of support on some other issues because Tim Scott didn't want to do things like the no knock warrant, which would now put those officers in trouble for the Breonna Taylor incident, and some other things that he's looking to support. So what they're looking to do now is to gain enough support to say that it's going to pass with or without you, and you want to be on the right side of history.
So I heard Representative not Ayanna Pressley. I heard Representative Ilhan Omar talk. That's not what Ilhan Omar says going on right now. She's saying there's a lot of soft shoeing, backstepping, knee bending happening in the party, and she's saying that.
But that always happens, doesn't it?
No, but right, but so what I'm saying to you is this. So the Ayanna Presleys, the Ilhan Omars, the Rashida Tlaibs, the AOCs, the Bernie Sanders of the party, right? Who I gotta say that if they could, they would shed that word Democrat, right? They would shed it. But they understand that for some reason black folk are so conditioned, right? And I know this because when I used to design literature in nonpartisan races, where there was no Republican running, they used to always say, "Hey, Eric, make sure you put Democrat." I said, but everybody running is a Democrat. They said, yeah, but black people, they want to see Democrat. And so AOC and Ilhan and Rashida, they got to put Democrat because black people have not matured enough. Right? And so but the stench of the spineless freaking Democrat, right? Who lacks the courage to just say, look. And so in the middle of all of this, right? In the middle of it, I mean, here's where to me it is just so grotesque. They're saying, you know what? Y'all go celebrate, y'all go dance in the street, right? But we ain't gonna do this for you. We don't have the courage to do this for you. But we're fanning the flames of your jubilance, right? But we don't have the courage to go do this for you. You know who had courage? You know who I will tell you had courage? And I was surprised. And I'll tell you that. So it's not about eating crow. It's about me being surprised because of the trauma that I've experienced being an American descendant of enslaved Africans. I am surprised at the verdict. I am grateful, but I am oh so surprised. And I will say that for whatever it's worth, those 12 jurors had the courage, I'll give them. I ain't giving Biden shit. They had the courage, and now he want to ride on their backs.
Well, I don't know about him riding on their backs, but it seems to me that Biden has been with the Floyd family all along and in communications. But in fact, he made it.
Well, if he's with the Floyd family, get this thing done. See, that's being with the Floyd family.
Didn't we talk about him having his thumb on a scale? Aren't we talking about this moving forward? Aren't we talking about now this thing has motivation? Are we not talking about those spineless, do-nothing Democrats are now in a do something more because the movement has now shown to be victorious? Is that not what we're talking about right now?
So what we're talking about is this. Right? We're talking about spending political capital. Let's be clear. See, I keep telling you, I've been in this for 10 years old. I had governors coming to the house and senators and stuff coming to the house. So I've been around this for 47 years of my life. So it's all about political capital. Right? And so, see, Ilhan and Rashida and Bernie and the rest of them, and I'll get on them when time comes too, right? Because there's some shit, but not critical shit that they've done. But their capital is with the people, right? So they come to us and say, hey, you contributed X million dollars to my campaign. Can I go spend this on kicking their asses? And we go kick their asses, right? With Biden, because we saw where his money came from, and we saw where all of the establishment Democrats, where their money comes from, right? So when they go to spend capital, they got to go and check in. Make sure it's okay. And because they're getting the money, right, and the influence and the support from the same people who are supporting the folks on the Republican side, then those people are sitting there moderating the conversation, right, and being the, and talking about what can and cannot be done. So let us be clear about that. And so in this moment...
Let's be clear about one thing. In terms of Biden and his political capital and who he is held accountable to in terms of his campaign donors, we talked about this last year. His biggest donor is not Big Pharma or a major corporation. It's the Lincoln Project. And the Lincoln Project is all for this. So who is opposing him or stopping him or slowing him down from making this happen?
So then let me ask you this question, right? Then why don't I hear Biden talking like I hear Bernie talking, like I hear Ilhan talking, like I hear Rashida talking? Why don't I hear Bernie talk? Why don't I hear Biden talking like that?
Well, I guess one of the biggest reasons that I can answer that is because he's Joe Biden. He's not Bernie. He's not Ilhan. He's Joe Biden.
No.
Joe Biden has his own unique style in talking. Just like he talked about something, didn't mention it, but yet sent the federal government in on that state to investigate it. Okay? That's Joe Biden.
Federal government in.
What the hell are you talking about, Jody? Right after the conviction, right after the conviction, our attorney general went on public and said we're investigating that state. Who do you think did that? He don't make a move without Joe Biden. Jody.
Wait. No.
Jody,
wait a minute. Go ahead, Jody. Who did it, Jody?
Who did it, Jody? Who did it?
Let her talk.
Who did it?
Let her talk.
Who tells the attorney general what to do, Jody?
Hey, Jody, you're breaking up.
Hold on. You talked about Biden like he was a superhero, right? You're like, that's them.
Okay, well, I can't hear what she's saying.
Are you there? Did she break up? Did we drop the call?
I think she...
Okay.
It's not even Michigan that this investigation is happening in. It's in Detroit. Remember,
Excuse me, Jody, can you answer? Why don't you answer Eric's question?
I am. He said, who sent them in? You said, so I got to clarify because you once again giving his listeners the wrong information, right? Because it's not in Michigan that the FBI is investigating our practices. No. It's not even Detroit. And you made me forget because you interrupt. But Eric, the FBI are already investigating practices due to complaints that were coming in from local facilities, local police departments, and the amount of, this morning they even explained it to in certain states when you file a lawsuit and you are filing for monetary difference for, again, back to they are a governmental agency by the police department, which is a governmental agency, then it automatically, when it reaches a level, it automatically has to go and be investigated to find out if the practices in that state and or county
you went through 5 minutes and you still have not answered that one question.
So Biden didn't send them in.
Wait a minute, Vincent. Vincent.
So you're saying that the Attorney General all of a sudden did a 180 pivot from all of this other stuff, went on TV and said that we're investigating Michigan without Joe Biden's permission?
Ready? Okay.
Is that what you're saying? No.
Vincent, no, Vincent. Okay, Vincent, don't do that again.
Ask me a question, right?
Vincent.
According to Biden, that's exactly what happened. Because according to Biden,
Thank you.
No. According to Biden, you need to listen sometimes. According to President Biden, he would not, because of Mr. Trump, he would not get involved in legal matters in states, counties. That's according to your dude. According to your dude, he don't do that. He don't call in on the president and say, I want this done, because we're also angry about Trump using his authority and power as the president of the United States in legal matters. So now you want us to believe that Joey earned his coat and now he's getting involved in matters that don't belong to him. I would have rather you have of the country did it.
There is a huge difference in the president using the power of the attorney general to go after his enemies, and the president using the power of the attorney general to go after injustice.
But here's the question I want. But here's
please let me finish.
Wait, Jody, let him go.
What Trump did was went after.
No, I got it. But here's a simple question. But here is the question I'm asking you. But here's the question I'm asking you. Wait, so they're like Jody. So here's the question I'm asking you, right? Because you're making another big leap, right, Vincent? So you are suggesting, right? But you have no facts to back it up that Joe Biden had a conversation with the Attorney General and told him to do that, right? That's kind of where we are. Again, so you could say, I feel like he did that, right? But when you make the statement that he did it, is again where Jody is saying, well, show me the proof. Now, we know what Donald Trump did and how he used Barr, because he said it. He said, I'm doing this. And so again, I'm saying, so if you're saying that Joe Biden did that, right? So the argument isn't that they're doing these investigations. The question is who is responsible for it? And you're assigning the responsibility to Joe Biden, right? And Jody's saying, well, where do you have that information? So that's kind of where we are, right? And so, if we don't know, you could hope and believe, because I know you want Joe Biden to be the guy who walks on water. You want him to be all things, all God, right?
No, that's not what I want. But what I'm not going to do is minimize what he's doing. Nor am I going to dismiss what he's doing for the sake of those people who want to support the fact of not voting for him or believe that he's not going to
Well,
make
no.
changes.
So I can agree with that. But can we also say that we won't big up him when he doesn't deserve it?
Okay. Well,
Okay, and so
man
now,
big up is another man shut down.
no, that's not true. That's just telling the truth about what somebody did, right? And so we don't know that Joe Biden is responsible for that, but you've assigned it to him, and all we're doing is
now hold on. Governor, Michigan Attorney General, with the behalf of the governor, did talk with the Attorney General and Biden, and this is ABC Channel 12 and investigating. Here we go. Wait 1 minute. And
wait a minute, Jody. Wait, Jody. I want to hear it.
I'll even give you the other sources. MichiganGovernor.org.
Right.
Lansing, Michigan Attorney General Dana today announced the finding of investigations to unlock open up investigations and the practices of paid to receive the request of the Attorney General of the United States, clear evidence of misuse of policing tactics. Yeah, and
I'm going to say it right. Biden made it perfectly clear when he chose
so there is your proof.
No. Joe Biden, and you're talking about Vincent theories, right? I'm going to tell you what Joe Biden said. Joe Biden promised this country that when he appointed the Attorney General, that he would not get involved or make decisions or have anything to do with matters with the Attorney General of this country. That was one of the reasons you were on here saying a few months ago that was what was great about Joe Biden. Now you're saying that Joe Biden, right, further proving my point, and now you're saying that Joe Biden has ousted that, but you're gonna put a codify on it that is for justice. So it's okay for the President of the United States to get involved in matters of the Attorney General because that's what fits and feels like look good for Joe Biden. But if he did that, that makes him just as culpable, just as crooked, and just as unjust as the orange dude that you lambaste about that behavior. No matter what the matter is.
Eric, I can't understand a word she's saying over her screaming. Can you get her to calm down a little bit?
Well, Vincent, don't do that. Don't do that. Dude, I sit and watch you scream all the show.
With the Attorney General, I'm sure Eric heard me.
Yeah. So here it is in a nutshell, right? So what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? If you say that Trump did this and it was wrong, and now you're saying that Biden did it but it's right and it's okay, right? That's what Jody's asking, right? So first there is no proof that he did it, but
I just proved it.
No, you said that he had wait a minute. No. Let's be clear about what you just you posted that the governor had a conversation with Biden. What was the conversation?
Okay, now the Attorney General of Michigan.
No, I want to hear this. I want to hear because
and the governor.
Right.
That is from Michigan government.
What was the conversation?
To investigate policing and the misuse or abuse of power with Michigan State Police. Now,
wait a minute. No. What was the conversation? Read verbatim what the conversation was.
Here we go again. Okay, Lansing, Michigan Attorney General Dana Nissen today announced the findings of investigation to unlock Michigan and make your Detroit program. Department of Attorney General open an investigation into the practices of policing in Michigan area and investigations due to unfair or misuse practices by the police.
Just read it.
Okay.
I don't need you to interpret it. Just read exactly what's
No,
there.
that's what I read.
Okay,
Okay.
right. So that's what I'm saying. So I don't want to move on because I want to talk about these other people who are being killed and and irresponsibility of the media in terms
Well,
of trying to.
actually, the funeral today is for the other gentleman, Antoine, the one who was shot, and she said that she was trying to tase him. That funeral is today.
Yeah. So listen, I think in the middle of all of this, right, you have like I started off by saying, you have spineless Democrats trying to, because this is what they do. They don't lead from the front. They lead from behind. And so they wait until the climate is such that they're no longer taking political risk when they come out on an issue, right? And so they're looking and allowing other people to take hits, and they're taking the temperature as these other people are taking the hits. And as soon as they feel that it is safe for them to come out, they'll come out. And if not, they won't. Right? So I'm watching that happen, and so I just want to call it for what it is. I want to call Biden and the rest of those moderates for what they are. Right? That's it. I mean,
You know what, Eric? So let me do say this, right? If the pressure is coming from anywhere, and I'm gonna give her credit this morning because I'm not anti anyone. I'm just pro anyone that is real, right? The pressure is coming from Amy Klobuchar.
oh yes,
Amy Klobuchar.
oh yes.
And I thought this was funny, right? From the night it happened. Amy Klobuchar, I watched black leader after black leader dodge the question of the George Floyd bill.
Right.
When they finally got to Amy Klobuchar, and that is her state, she was the one who said, and the legislation must be passed, right? So as a senator, not Joe Biden, right? As a senator, and that being her state, that's her state, she may have put the pressure on. That's why we're seeing this movement. But I was like amazed that all of these black leaders came on and wouldn't mention it, and when asked a question about it, totally dodged it. But it was about 11:30 at night when they got to Amy Klobuchar.
Well, let's see. I think Sheila Jackson Lee actually was a black leader who stated her opinions way before they got to Amy. In fact, they even tried to sanction her yesterday in the Senate.
Buddy, again, not one black leader on the day of that conviction was willing to talk about the legislation.
She talked about it before the conviction.
All right, you're trying to change these subjects around. You're trying to throw anything again on the wall to make it stick, right?
Jody, what I'm saying to you is that is not actually an accurate statement when you said that no black leaders have said anything.
Right? I said on the day of the verdict, because listen, the day before the verdict Tuesday, we were on this very show, and you were saying that the reason why the George Floyd bill wasn't coming on the floor was because it was hard. And that the Asian bill was easy, right? Everybody was talking about the George Floyd bill prior to, but it wasn't making it to the floor. And nobody was pushing for it to get on that floor. And
even that day,
he had this verdict. And on that day of the verdict, when news reporters and journalists were asking, so don't you think it's time? That's how Joy Reid posed it to everyone on her show. So don't you think it's time now? Don't you think now that we got this verdict, we can get to this place of passing the legislation? And every black leader, thank God, they talked about that it wasn't ready. I've already been through that. But Amy Klobuchar, because guess what? You want to be Black Fantastico when it suits you, right? So because I'm telling you the truth, which is Amy Klobuchar was the only politician the only politician on the night of the verdict who openly said, and we need to push for legislation and the George Floyd bill to hit the floor. She was the only one. Listen, most of us who are not repping that red or blue, we also don't rep color, right? I don't care. I don't care who does the deed. If it is good for the people, right? So just because she's white, that doesn't make me say bad, right? Black leadership in this country has failed us. They continue to fail us. They continue, as Eric said, to not have the spine and the courage to move anything forward. They wait for the word from up high. Amy Klobuchar was talking from a place of humanity and justice, and she said it needs to pass. So it is more fundamentally, it makes more sense, it is more ideological, it is more relative to believe that Amy Klobuchar is the reason why, as a senator of Michigan, we are doing this today, and they are investigating today in Joe Biden. Because if we say it's Joe Biden, then that comes into play with he's getting involved in business that he promised the United States of America that he wouldn't get involved in. But that's Amy's business. That's a state, right?
Well, here we go. If we could, because
Go ahead.
Eric.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Vincent. Go ahead, Vincent.
Okay. First, Michael Bosch, yes, I agree with you. And in terms of some people in dealing with them, and because of their opinion of you, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And that's the same thing about Biden. And I agree with you another thing, that Biden is doing a lot more and a lot better than the last administration. But if I could return back to...
Wait, Jody, let him go. Go ahead, Vincent.
If we could return back to Tuesday, in which we were talking about Sheila Jackson Lee, and we were talking about the difficulty in pushing the George Floyd bill versus the attack on Asian, is now this. Okay, Sheila Jackson Lee did push for it. Black leader, and she also went through it with a great deal of consequences, because now they want to sanction her for what she said, and which everybody is now saying she didn't say anything wrong. But I digress with that.
What did she say, Vincent?
The whole point is this: in terms of it getting momentum and steam now, is that now that we have the conviction, it seems to be a lot more easier to push through with a lot less fighting, because a lot of politicians want to be on the right side of this history.
All right.
That's all.
So I want to say this firstly, right? If you know, to make this statement that that Joe Biden is doing a lot better than Donald Trump, again, I'm saying, where's the bar? Right? Like if that's what we're looking at, right?
Well, the bar is Donald Trump.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, well, so there lies my problem, right? Because the bar shouldn't be set by Donald Trump. It should be set by what Black Americans deserve and are entitled to, right? Not by Donald Trump. So I'm measuring what everybody does based on where I am and have been as a foundational Black American here in America, right? But understand the game, right? Because you just said what the game. Vincent,
laid that on your front doorstep.
Vincent. So the game, because this is the game that they play, right? And you feed into it because they've told you that measure everything not by what your needs are and what you demand, but measure it by that guy. And so now, as long as if this guy over here does something in your perception better than that other guy, even though you've not moved an inch in terms of justice, right? In terms of
justice.
No.
Just moved an inch in terms of justice.
Okay,
so
here's
Eric, here is the thing.
All right.
In comparison, you have to compare an apple to the apple. You
Right.
can't say, okay, well, let's look at what Biden's doing to Black America, and when you're comparing him to what Donald Trump did.
right. So
You know, compare Biden's body of work right now. Yesterday, 200 million vaccinated.
right. So what I'm gonna say to you is this.
Days.
Right. But what I'm gonna say to you is this, because I want to have. Right, so you interrupt me, but then you tell Jody not to interrupt you.
Okay,
you
my
cry,
bad.
right,
But I
right.
dig-
But we
I
can't,
digress. Go
but we
ahead.
can't, but we can't keep doing that, right? So, right, so, and then we could talk about the vaccines too. We could talk about where the vaccines were headed. We could talk about how many people were getting vaccines prior to Biden and what the trajectory was, right? So we could have those honest conversations as opposed to giving this guy credit where he. So I look, I'm not opposed to giving Biden credit where he may deserve it if he deserves it, but I don't want to give him credit where he doesn't. That is my only issue. But back to
No, you're in terms of. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll wait till you finish.
right. So I forgot the point that I was making before the interruption, but yeah.
Can I give you some more clarity? Eric, if I have to keep doing this division, right? Sheila Jackson Lee is not being. Sheila Jackson Lee's statements that are considered censored has nothing to do with George Floyd. That's why I get mad at talking to Vincent because you got to fact check him all along the way. She made a statement on reparations, and that's what they want to censor her for. It has nothing to do with George Floyd. When I say absolutely nothing, and I had to pull over in my car because I have no problem saying to anyone. I watch CNN, I watch Fox, I watch MSNBC, I read the Washington Post, the front page every morning, the New York Times, front page every morning. I like the news. I just love the news, right? So, again, he has got to, and this is more about the show than it is about me winning because he seems to also have this thing where he got to win. He got to win the conversation, and he's willing to lie. He's willing to give information that doesn't even exist in the world. He's willing to do anything to win, right? So I find myself every time he says something, I'm like, damn, how did I miss that? How did I miss that?
So
What did Sheila Jackson Lee do? Ready? So I just Googled it. It had to do with the George Floyd bill.
right.
It had to do with reparations. So again, for your audience, I want to clarify that so they don't go walking around sitting at the kitchen table having an argument and say, and Sheila Jackson Lee, because that's just like, seriously, it's
Right.
retarded.
So
He's so retarded.
so here's what I.
Can
Right.
you translate her point for me?
Right. So her point was, Vincent. No. Jody, I'm gonna do it. So what Jody said, Vincent, is that you more than implied, you stated that Sheila Jackson Lee stood up for the George Floyd bill, and as a result was censored, or they're talking about censoring her.
No, that's not what I applied. That was false, Jody.
No. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute, Jody. Jody, wait a minute. Jody. Okay, guys, wait a minute. Stop. So here's my question, Vincent. Why did you mention that she was being censored?
Okay, now.
No. Very simple question. What did that have? We're talking about the George Floyd bill.
Eric, I can answer the question if you not
Yeah.
interrupt me
Go ahead.
while I'm answering it.
Go ahead.
So let me start by saying, let me be clear.
No, I want to know why you mentioned it.
Why I mentioned it was this. She stated that there were no blacks standing up for it. And then the only one was Amy Klobuchar. And I said no. We talked about Tuesday that Sheila Jackson Lee, and in fact there were over 200 that were pushing the George Floyd bill.
And then you said,
let me finish, Eric.
Go ahead.
Okay, through the House. And what I was talking about was before the conviction, where Sheila Jackson Lee was there, talked to them in the street, and said to them that they need to hear your voice on the George Floyd bill. They need to hear your voice if we don't get this, and you need to be confrontational. That is what they were trying to sanction her about.
Well, wait a minute. That was wait a minute. First, you got these people mixed up.
That was Tuesday.
No, that wasn't Sheila Jackson Lee that said that we need to be confrontational. So now you're mixing up. That was Maxine Waters.
I'm sorry, Maxine
Okay.
Waters.
So wait a minute. So all right. So Maxine Waters said that. But if we were having the conversation about Sheila Jackson Lee and her fervent support, right? As you state for the George Floyd bill, right? Then you said so much so that she is now, they want to censor her. That's what you said.
That part, I was in error. It was Maxine Warder that they want to censor for what she said too.
Oh, okay. Now, okay. So now, no, that's okay. Now, so if you confuse Maxine Waters with her, but all black women don't look alike, Vincent. But anyway,
Don't you say that.
anyway, I want to. So here's my issue with when you say we got justice, because that's what you said. Here's what this white man said. This white senator from Vermont, right? He said the jury's verdict delivered accountability for Derek Chauvin, but not justice.
I said, be clear. I said justice for the Floyd family.
No, so right. You said justice for the Floyd family, right? But listen to what Bernie Sanders says. He said, but not justice for George Floyd. See, he said real. Wait a minute. He said real justice for him and too many others can only happen when we build a nation that is fundamentally respects the human dignity of every person. So I don't believe that trial did that. I think that trial. Wait a minute. Listen. Just let me finish. I think much like Martin Luther King said, and where do we go from here? That white folk said, you know what? We don't want black people. We'll fight because we don't want black people to be hung anymore. There's some white people who don't, right? So there's some white people who said, you know what? We don't want that to happen, right? I didn't know that they existed on that jury, right? So I'm grateful that they did, but not justice. Don't call it justice. They held this man accountable for his actions. And now we hope, right? And so here we are again in our in the mental illness that black Americans suffer because of the trauma that we've experienced. We're now hoping with our fingers crossed that the judge now does the right thing, right? So we're having these conversations now. We're not even done yet. Right? You got people on edge going, well, now if the judge don't, well, how many years do you think you're going to get? How many? But we know if it was a black person, we'd be like, oh man, they're going to throw the book at him. But we don't know that here, right? We could, because of the condition of black Americans, because of the trauma. So I'm looking saying, you know what? I'm grateful. I'm surprised. I'm grateful. Wasn't justice. They held that one man accountable.
If I could read the statement, because this says it far more concisely than I would. The NAACP.
Oh God.
While justice landed Derek Chauvin behind bars for murdering George Floyd, no amount of justice will bring Gianna's father back. The same way, a reasonable police officer would never suffocate an unarmed man to death. A reasonable justice system would recognize its roots in white supremacy and end the qualified immunity.
So, look, I'm going to say to you, so when you, like organizations, like literally, I can't take anything the NAACP says seriously. I just got to tell you that, right? No, I mean, I
do.
No,
with everything else.
No.
With everything else. I can't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
So now I told you guys that Amina has on XM in the car. She's got MSNBC, right? So I got to, as I was doing my driving and shopping this morning, I got to listen to Joe Scarborough, and I got to tell you guys, it made me go back to a piece that I pulled out of White Fragility, and I'm gonna read it to you, and I want you guys. I don't know. But I want you guys to listen to this, and from now on, when you hear Joe or Mika or any of these, white folks who are on the media talking about racism and how to solve it, or white supremacy and all these other things, I just want you to think of it. So this is from the book White Fragility. It says, as opinionated as many white people are, including and especially those in government and mainstream news.
Eric, I can't hear you over that beeping. Is Jody, could you mute your phone? You hear it?
Yeah, Yeah, I hear a tweet. So
Getting out of my car. Go ahead, Eric.
okay, so I'm gonna read it again. So this comes from White Fragility. It says, as opinionated as many white people are, including and especially those in government and mainstream news on race, their opinions are for the most part uninformed and even ignorant. There is nothing in the U.S. mainstream culture that gives them the information needed to have a nuanced understanding of arguably the most complex and enduring social dynamic of the last several hundred years. Now, so, translation, Mika, get the fuck off the stage. Translation, Joe Scarborough, get the fuck off the stage. See, all of them have to move out of this conversation. All of them. Because for them to stay in it shows their absolute hubris. Because they are a product of the system, right? They are beneficiaries of the corporation of white supremacy. They spent their entire lives basking in white privilege, right? Not having a perspective. Because if they did, why weren't they woke before this? Why'd they spend so many decades in the news and not focused on this? So all of them need to move. And anybody engaged in listening to them, anybody, I'm telling you, it's dangerous.
Executive producer of the Three Wise Ones, calling to confirm being on our show at 12:30.
Oh, Vincent, you got to mute your phone. Mute your...
You got me? Can you hear me?
Vincent? There we
Yes.
go. There we go. You had your other phone on.
Okay.
Okay. So, so we have to look. I'm telling you guys, we can't allow them to set and drive a narrative and tell us how we ought to be feeling and how we ought to be thinking about the corporation white supremacy, who they continue to prop up every day. And then you see the Negro. Look, and I said this before, as much as I love Dr. Eddie Glaude, he needs to walk the fuck off that stage. Vincent, I don't hear you.
I say the same thing about some of the things that Dr. West says.
Well, no, I know. Listen, from that perspective, yeah, I don't think that any black person should be on those shows giving credibility to these white journalists who don't have. They literally lack. I mean, look. I mean,
See, Eric, I take it as different styles, and I take it as how people eat. And I'm never going to be one to, mess up or break up or, kill another man's hustle. So if that's how he's eating and feeding his family, hey, well, God love you.
yeah, but they're eating and feeding their families, Vincent. They're eating. But understand what they're doing,
Can I
Vincent.
finish?
But
Can I please finish my point?
Go ahead, Vincent.
However, for me, I like to take a more positive approach. I like to do things that which Jody's going to freak out when I say. I like the ability to speak truth to power. I like the ability to be bold with my opinion and base my opinion on certain facts that I have seen, that I have read, that I have heard, and that I have confirmed. But see what I mean? But Eric, but you know what? If that's how, because you have to look at, he's not an independent reporter and it's not his show. He gets paid by those great minds who tell him exactly what to do. Now, if he does not want to compromise his integrity and believe and push that agenda, then that's on him. The only person that he has to answer to at the end of time would be him and his creator.
No, but you know what? No, but you know what though? But as long as he wants to identify as a foundational black American, as long as he wants to identify as somebody who's spreading truthful information, then no, he has to be accountable to me too. So from that,
I agree.
right. So from that standpoint, I say whenever they show up on those shows, they give credibility to people who, and I agree with what the statement says out of White Fragility. They are uninformed. Joe Scarborough he's ill-informed. He can't have that conversation. And for him to believe, right, that he and Mika could sit there and have these nuanced conversations is dangerous. And for whether it's Dr. West or Dr. Eddie Glaude or any number of other prominent black intellectuals who sit on those shows, they're just giving credence to this nonsense. Do you understand what I'm saying? So they're giving credibility. They're making you believe you got to tune into Joe Scarborough to find out what's going on for black people. You got to listen to Mika Brzezinski narrate and moderate a discussion around black people.
Well, look at how it was in the 80s when they...
I ain't talking about the 80s. I'm talking about now.
Well, Eric, let me finish. Remember in the 80s, whenever they wanted to get the black approval and find out the pulse of black people, they called Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. Times have now changed, and these people do represent a demographics of black America. Is it black America in its totality? Hell no. And like I said, there are very few people that I agree with 100% of the time. But I'm not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I'm going to take it for what it's worth, and then dismiss whatever the other point is.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, and they do a lot of times. They do a lot of blacks a lot of disservice in some of the things that they say. But you look at it. You also have to look at the other side of the pendulum. In doing this show, a lot of people believe that we do a lot of blacks a lot of disservice.
Yeah, I'd like to know who those people are, but I'm going to read the next paragraph out of this. It says, I read the second paragraph. Here's the third paragraph. It says, however, because they, meaning white folks in mainstream media and white elected officials, have been groomed by America's social hierarchical structure to believe they are the dominant caste, they must be wiser. Therefore, they must know and be able to lecture everyone on race, racism, and the solutions. See, that's exactly where, so when I was driving, I'm listening to them listening to Mika talk about it. I'm going, what the fuck do you know? What do you know? What do you know? See, you know who I want on there instead of Mika? I want a black woman, right, who had to unfortunately suffer the loss of her black son, right? And so when she's sitting there having these conversations, she's having them from a place that Mika could never go. That's what I want. I want a black man on there who has had to have conversations with his black son and then stay up to 1, 2 o'clock in the morning because he's fearful that his son might not come home. That's who I want. Not two white privileged people on there talking about black issues. We got to end that. See, so when we talk about how to end it, we got to start ending it there. I think we hung up. Call back.
You cut me off, Eric.
No, call back. No, I don't know what happened. The phone just ended. It ended on everybody.
I'll try getting you back.
Yeah, mute your other phone. Mute your computer, though. Give me 1 second, guys.
I went to your voicemail.
Caller? Caller?
No, I'm just calling back Eric.
Yeah.
Listening. You're still
No,
back and listening
no,
right now.
you got to hang up your Vincent. Mute your computer, Vincent, please.
I'm still getting your voice.
Mute your computer, Vincent, please. Vincent.
Oh,
Okay, I got you back. Yeah, but you got to keep your computer muted, otherwise the audience gets an echo, right?
Oh.
But we've got to start there. We've got to stop going to them to get the solution. That's not where it's going to come. And the corporate, listen, so here's the brilliance of the corporation white supremacy. They know that. And they not in this moment of wokeness where they've allowed, right, to be able to try to convince black folks that white folks are more in tune, right? And so they're speaking more openly about white supremacy and stuff, right? But they've tempered it by not creating these platforms where you take black folk and you make them the anchors of these shows. Do that. Do that.
Or they do get blacks in which they are puppets. They basically spit out the literature.
Oh, no
that
doubt.
the
But
white
I'm saying
people
we got to
already-
recognize that, right? So while we're trying, so in the middle of this, and so between the diversionary tactics by the Democratic Party, the diversionary tactics by the media, right? All of this stuff going on. This is why I'm saying to you, like, yo, the corporation white supremacy is brilliant. So we're dancing in the streets, right? We're celebrating something that should have been fait accompli, but we weren't sure. And so part of the celebration is really relief, right? That something was done, something that a lot of people were on their heels waiting for not to happen, right? So again, that's the mental illness, that's the trauma playing itself out. And then we see it manifest itself by having thousands of black people on the streets.
Okay, now let's look at it. Do blacks have a right to celebrate? Although it is a victory for the Floyd family.
No,
in essence, living vicariously, it's a victory for a lot of black people who have suffered the injustice. Now, I'm not saying that this celebration is where it ends. What I'm saying is that this is the beginning.
No, you're missing the point about the celebration, Vincent. You're missing my point about the celebration. What I'm saying to you is this, right? When you tell me one time a black man was convicted. So whether they were convicted rightfully or not, because a lot of them not convicted rightfully, right? Or justly, or whatever word you want to use. But you tell me when you saw an outpouring of white people in the street celebrating.
There were white people in the street.
No. See, you don't listen to, because you try to cherry pick what I'm saying. Tell me when a black man was convicted of an atrocity against a white person, right? And then white America poured into the streets and the media filmed them pouring into the streets in celebration of that. When have you seen that?
Eric, we talked about that in the beginning of the show. I don't want to rehash that. Okay? But let's look at this, Eric. White people are working from a situation where they said in their history they wanted to predict that this was going to happen. Now, when it happens to them at such a regular point, they don't celebrate.
That's absolutely right. That's my point.
But we talked about that.
Right. And so what I'm saying to you is this. So my point is this. We got to recognize. So when we see, just like if I scratch. If I keep scratching, right, you'll look and go, hey, Eric, what happened? What's going on? The scratching is a result of something, right? Maybe I got a rash or maybe I got whatever. So I'm saying that protesting or the peaceful protesting and the celebrating is a result of something, right? Something that I'm saying is a bad thing, right? So we shouldn't be looking and celebrating the fact that people are out there. We should say, yo, why are they out there like that? And then we say, oh, because they got trauma. And then that'll get us to focus on this other thing. But as long as the media and these Negro whisperers and these slave catchers are going, hey, y'all should be happy. Y'all should be happy that y'all got some, and they use the term justice, right? Because then they water down what justice really means for us. Do you understand? But if we look at it and go, yo, that's mental illness out there. And,
Eric, well,
go ahead.
I'm thinking in terms of blacks celebrating is the simple fact of acknowledgement that we have moved an inch. And also what a lot of other people have been saying is that, again, this is a good first step. Let us now move to push the Floyd bill. Let us now move to investigate the unfair practices. Let us eliminate those things like qualified immunity, police unions, which have a great deal of politicians in their pockets, and high-powered attorneys. Let us now go to actual equal justice.
So you know what I want to talk about? Let's talk about the police unions for a second.
You know what is so alarming about it, right? So strategically for whatever you want to call this movement of progress for black people, it's bad. It's a bad move, right? To say that this peanut You threw us, right? This one can never happen again, most likely, right? That you threw us. It's so great. We're so grateful, right? It set such low expectations, right? There was no dignity in, and this is my opinion, right? This is just my perspective. There was no dignity in Al Sharpton during that news conference praying. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Like, who behaves that way? Artistry and
a man who loves Jesus.
And, listen, listen. I don't want to go back and forth with you because I'm convinced and content in your idiocy or whatever, right? So
You mean idiosyncrasies?
No, your idiocy. That's your
Yes, those are called idiosyncrasies.
No, that's
but go ahead.
You look up the word. I'm sure with it.
I already did. That's why I gave it to you.
It is a definition of idiosyncrasies is things that you have that aren't very great. Now, listen, man, again, get up on the news, right, about a legal matter, right, and that, or seeing justice for black people and doing a prayer in the middle of it. You know, it was reminiscent of, like, I saw cotton fields, and this is how I see it. Cotton fields, and Master gave us a piece of chicken. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Lord, for Master, because that's what he was saying. Thank you, Lord, for Master, for giving us this biscuit. Oh, thank you, Lord, and thank you for this person, and thank you for this white person, and thank you for Joe Biden. Like, listen, it wasn't that great of a deal, right? For us to make it, for us to promote that we have moved one step forward, right? For it to have taken that moment for Cory Booker to start working on a legislation that is acceptable to a group of people who have made it clear that we are not acceptable says shitloads about how poorly we strategize moving forward, right? Because according to the corporation, right, we'll give them this one. It's going to be a long time coming. But if we just fine-tuned our strategy, if we stop acting as if the biscuit is enough, or people hugging, like, it, to me, that was bad for us as a people on a day, right? It 400 years led us to this one moment, and we're in the middle of the street jumping up and down. We're on national television surrounded by this quote-unquote black leadership thanking Jesus for the biscuit. Like, come on, man, do that behind doors. Y'all should have went in the closed room and did that behind doors, because there must be a strategy that moves us forward. And if we're talking strategy, that was a piss-poor strategy, and it's going to render piss-poor results.
Okay, well, here is my opinion on Reverend Al Sharpton going on national television and saying, thank you, Jesus, on behalf of everybody who loves the Lord and understands that and believes that all things come through his either permissive will or his free will, that this victory came through him. And acknowledging that, I want to say thank you. Because a lot of times, in terms of blacks, we have always been a spiritual group of people, and always acknowledge that the God of our understanding leads us and guides us through. And we also understand that he may not come when we want or give us what we want, but when he does come up and he shows up and he delivers us, it's right on time.
Well, again, you give Al Charlatan a lot of credit.
Well,
right?
I give Al Sharpton the respect that he is entitled.
Yeah, entitled to.
So, listen, right? I pray 5 times a day, right? I believe in the Most High, and He leads my life, and I put all things at the corner of His throne, and I don't have to prove to anyone that I'm a believer in the Most High God, right? I wasn't talking about being thankful for anything. I'm talking about black folks and their strategy to move forward.
Well, right? No, you did talk about how marginal it was.
Well, no, he was talking about the theatrics of it.
In the front, right? He got paid for that prayer.
Really?
Paid for that.
How do you know?
He got paid.
How do you know that?
Because because I read, right? So
Okay, then look, post it on his thread where people paid Al Sharpton to show up and do that prayer.
Everything that Al Sharpton, just like the brother that stood next to him, Mr. Chambers, the lawyer for the family, they get paid for this work. You think they're traveling around the country?
That's you talking about Benjamin Crump?
Because they're doing it because they got skin in the game and they're moving people forward. No, they're paid for these services. They're paid when Al Sharpton jumps on an airplane and he goes to another state. He gets paid for that. He gets his plane fare for that. You know that. I know that.
Well,
some dudes walking around trying to save the people, is he?
So
let's look at this. Al Sharpton, public speaker, is how he actually earns a great deal of his money. And people do contract him and pay him to speak. Just like I pay people to be on my show, because that is what they do.
Right.
And
So
there's
she
the
just said,
qualifications
right,
for
but
it.
she said he
But
gets paid.
yet, in this situation, I don't have any record of indication that Al Sharpton got paid to come out and do that. But if you do, please post it. I'd like to see that.
So well, we got to sift through his brown paper bags of cash because I know he gets them. Anyway,
Jesus.
Yeah, no, not Jesus. Al Sharpton gets them.
I'm calling Jesus. I'm calling him Jesus.
And I mean, I don't have any evidence of them, but in the rooms that like I told you, I've been around, and so in the rooms that I've been in Newark, him being in Newark got him.
The problem that we run into is that, we deal with two sides of the pendulum in terms of Black America. We have Black America who is grateful for every little bit that they get. And we got Black America that is not satisfied of anything that they get.
No, you know what? Good, no, because I don't want crumbs off the table ever.
Sometimes the crumbs off the table is enough to keep people or to keep family afloat for at least a day.
You know what? My hope is that, and look, and understand what I'm saying to you. So understand. So here's the difference, right? I'm never not saying don't take the crumbs if you're hungry. I'm saying don't be dancing like those crumbs are victory, right? Take the crumbs, right? Eat the crumbs, but want more. And that's where I am. So when you say not grateful, no, I want more. I demand more. I'm worth more.
Yeah, well, right? Some people, like I said, some people are.
And again, and I think that it is.
And the bar is just so high that no matter what they get, they're not satisfied.
Oh no, you know why? Because,
or as Michael said,
but this is true. You know what? But you know what? But what you're saying is absolutely true. So this is crazy, right? So when I look, Vincent, as a human being, right, and I see where human beings who are lighter complected than I am, what they get, right? You say to me, right, that I should be grateful for the crumb, right, and to want more, to want what they have, to want to be able to walk down the street without fear of being shot, right? To be able to, and I can go down a list of things, right, to want more, right? Then I'm not grateful for the bit I got. So what I should be grateful for is for these 12 jurors, right, who convicted this man, and I should be okay with that. And I'm saying, and I think that Jody's saying is, look, we see it for what it is. And like I said, I'm grateful. I'm shocked, but I'm grateful. Right? No doubt. But, big but, that ain't justice. And because I know it's not justice, wait a minute. And because I know it's not justice, right, it's a crumb. And my stomach is still touching my back, and I'm telling you that. And so, I'm hungry for more.
Based on what you said, and I agree with that. Now, it's not justice. What do we do now to get justice?
We first I'm going to tell you what we do. We first recognize what they're doing, right? Trying to fool people into believing it's justice. What we do now is call them all out, and we gather our people and we say, hey, wait. You need to see this for what it is, which is what we're trying to do here on the show. Like, understand what's going on. Right? And understand how the corporation white supremacy is moving things around now. And like I said to you earlier, we need to get right now in this conversation that we're having. We don't need white folks in it. We don't need, so anytime that you hear white people talking about these issues, these complex issues, understand they lack the knowledge to be able to have the conversation. And so if they're having it, right, if they're having it, it's dangerous.
Again, Eric, we talked about this maybe 6 months ago, and I'm going to reiterate, and you can let history back it up. You name one particular movement or group where blacks have moved the needle forward without the assistance of help of white people.
No. You're missing what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they can't. No. And I think that, and I remember when Malcolm, after Malcolm's pilgrimage, right? And he came back, because at first he said, we don't need whites to do anything. We need you to, fall back completely. And when he came back, he said, no, I'll accept the help. But understand this. These are things that we need to do. And marginally, you can do some stuff. But what I'm saying to you is this: when you look at where whites want to be in this, they want to be in the forefront of the discussion about race. They want to be in the forefront of all of these things. And I'm saying, no, we need to say no. Here's how you can help. You want to help? Here's how you can help. Move out of the way. We'll call you when we need you.
And that's where and then you have just retarded your progress.
Right. See, but here you go, right? Because your belief is that we need them. See, here is the mental illness, right? That that 400 years, we can't have a conversation about our trauma, about our issues, about how to move forward. We need to bring them in the room and lead the conversation.
Now, again, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is telling them, we can have the conversation about the 400 years. We can have the conversation about the injustice. We can have the conversation of how it has ruined a life for generations to come.
Right.
Because of one mis or unequal justice act. We can have that conversation. But here is the thing. For us to make solid change, we need them in the room.
No, we don't. And there's the danger. This is what I'm saying. That is the danger.
Okay, then tell me why is that? Tell me, how do you see that being a danger?
Because in the book, Eric, in the first, I wish I had my book with me because I've been carrying it around. In the first chapter of Martin Luther King book, he talks about how when they were fighting and all the white folks and religious leadership, rabbis, all of them came out and they fought. And what he recognized later, right, was that they were there because it was that moment, right? But then afterwards, he talked about how all of them disappeared because they weren't there because they were trying to
fight for justice and equality, right? That's right.
Yeah. They were just trying to basically throw that peanut, right? And we talked about this before on the show when you had the rabbi, and the rabbi was very excited to talk about that. That when Martin Luther King was on Selma, it was rabbis, and we've always been in the movement. But according to Martin Luther King, no, you weren't. You just, ready, again, marched down the street with us.
Right.
Marching down the street was big, right? But when it came to fundamentally acting on the Voters' Rights Act, acting on the Civil Rights Act, they were gone.
Right. So what Dr. King says in the book, Jody, the piece you're talking about is where Dr. King says that we have two fundamentally different ideas and definitions for equality. Right? And so there's the issue. That's
the way I interpreted, Eric.
Right. So here's the issue. So if we know, Vincent, that when we say equality, right, we want one thing, and when whites by and large say equality, because they lack the understanding, or willingness, they want something else. So now once you bring them into the room, Now you're not making progress on equality because all they're spending their time doing is trying to convince you to do what they want, which is not equality. And so, no, we can't have them in the room. We have to have the conversation about equality and what that means for us. And then to the degree that we can use them, and I'm going to use the term use them to help obtain that, and they have to not be fragile in their whiteness when we say that. Right? And when we can use them, when they can be a resource or an asset as we march toward equality, then we call them up. Just like if I have something go wrong with my electricity, I call up a plumber or an electrician, and I use his services, right, to help me fix that. So at the point that we say this is the things that we need to do, right? Yes, I may call Governor Murphy up and say, it's what I need. Get this done. But no, I don't need you in the room talking to me about what I need. We're going to figure that out. Then we're going to call you. And we're going to tell you what we need you to do.
This is where I find this is where our ideology separates. I say that, yeah, we do need them in the room. One of the reasons that we need them in the room so that we can give them a true definition of what equality is. And Martin and Dr. King was right. You know, they are looking at the travesties and the brutality of the violence and saying that we need that to stop. And that's just the surface. What Dr. King was saying is that no, we need racism to stop. They can be racist, and as they said, legislation doesn't stop racism. And Dr. King said, yes, it does not stop racism, but it does prevent them from lynching me. So let's take that and move forward. But we cannot move forward without them being in the room. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that some folk need them in the room. Some black folks, let me be specific. Some black folks feel that when white folk are in the room, it legitimizes the moment. That is brainwashed. Some black folk feel like I can't move forward if Massa ain't in the room. That for some reason that they give us power. That it's not a movement. That it's not a movement until they okay it. Because just based on history, most black folk wouldn't want them in the room. There should be no trust there. There should be no real trust that we believe just based on the history. Not 5 years of history, not 10 years of history. We're talking 400 years. What would make you think that they're going to do better? If they didn't do better with legislation passing in the 60s, what makes you think today their presence or ever-presence in the room is going to do anything other than make you feel more legitimized? That's why you feel that, Vincent.
And so you know what? And here's the other piece of that, Vincent.
No. See, Jody, this is where you and I always differ because you want to tell me what I'm feeling and you're not listening to what I'm saying.
Right.
Now,
so here's
what I'm saying is this, Jody. Them being in there does not make me feel legitimized. But them being in there does bring about an inclusion of understanding.
Why do I need them included?
Well, let me finish. And let me finish.
Yeah.
Also, them being there also makes... Wow, I just lost you.
No, I'm here. I can hear you. I can see you. Keep going.
Okay, but them also being there has a great deal to deal with the actual legislation and laws in place because, and this is from my experience. Now, I put together multi-million-dollar deals, no problem. But I went in there as me, a black man, with all this intelligence, graphics, analysis, and projections. Yet it was dismissed. So I hired this dumb as crap white guy to come in there and present it. Oh, it was freaking brilliant.
Right. So there are two different things you're talking about there.
Because that is the
right.
mindset.
Right. But the two different things you're talking about there. So the one thing that I'm saying is this. So what I'm talking about is this, Vincent. And we yield to their white fragility when we say this, right? So when we're concerned about how they may feel, right? So the first thing that comes to mind to black folks when they hear me say, yeah, we'll use you when we need you, right? And we'll call you. And if you are helpful, that's great. If not, then we'll move you back out the room, right? Then they say, oh, that's racist, Eric. See, but that's the white fragility. So I see, because what they do, because that is the nuance of the conversation we have to have about this thing. And then what they do is they retreat back to a defensive stand. And because of our mental illness, we play into it and go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel that way. And then that is the way you get back into the groove of, oh, then come on in the room. No, out of the room, we're having this conversation. Once we identify the things that we need, we'll give you a call. And if you can be useful, then we'll engage with you. If not, then we won't. See, that's an uncomfortable conversation for black people to get used to having. Because we're so used to being more concerned about them than we are about ourselves. More concerned about their feelings.
And that's what Vincent proved.
And it doesn't make me. And look,
No, that is not what Vincent proved, because we're talking about two different things.
now, wait a minute. Wait a minute, Joe. Let me finish the point. Now, on the point that you're talking about, in terms of having to legitimize your hard work by bringing as you said, the dumbest white guy in, right? So that all talks about everything that we've talked about regarding caste, how we're despised, how regardless to how unintelligent or uneducated a white person is, guess what? They still not black. And then that's what they live on. So that white person that you brought in, because of the caste system, was able to trade in on his whiteness.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
No, no. Actually, I'm going to tell you the truth, Eric. What happened in that situation? What I was doing was pimping that white guy to get money.
No, but you really weren't. But see,
because I knew the game, I understood the game, and since they wanted to play the game, I decided to do it better.
Ready? So because of that experience, right? That experience taught you that they were more legitimate.
No.
That experience taught you that they have the power, right? And because of that experience, whether you need a therapist, I know a few, or not, to walk you through that process, you feel like it ain't a room of power unless there is a room.
No, that's not how I feel, Jody. Again.
I just said it. You may not listen. I'm listening to Eric when he says that, we damaged. You just damaged. You do not want to admit that yet, right? But you're damaged. You see it. They legitimize you. Because
I don't.
You said, I had to use him. I had to use him to get what I knew. I played the game. So in your world, in your mind, in your philosophy, based on your experiences, that's the way you see it, right? So you feel like if a whole bunch of black folks is in a room trying to get some power, it ain't until Master walk in that room that we'll get that power. Because according to you, that's who gets the power. Now, you may not, you're going to argue, you're going to go into some rabbit holes with me real quick, and you're going to redefine your argument as you do. But I'm telling you, we all do. A lot of us need, and I'm not saying this to downgrade you, you just need a little bit of therapy.
Well, I got a shock for you, sister. I get a lot of therapy, especially after talking to you for 2 hours.
Right. So again, when you ask about,
but if I could,
see,
Eric,
but that's what I'm saying. So get to the point. So when you have the time, instead of doing that,
let me get to the point.
Yeah.
Okay?
See, because that's not productive.
As discussing it, no, it does take a collection. It's going to take us. Now, there are certain situations in terms of white fragility that we have to walk on, and then there are certain parts of white fragility that we have to actually use a sledgehammer and destroy. But whatever it takes to work, we're still going to need them.
Wait a minute. But see, there lies so I'm telling, look, you know what this is like? So go back, guys, 4 years ago when I first started talking about the abusive relationship that we are in here in America, right? We are an abused people. right? And so much like when you have a woman in a relationship with an abuser, right? When he starts drinking or when he comes home, she all of a sudden has to feel like she's got to walk on eggshells, right? Because she doesn't want to do anything that's going to set him off, right? That's
No,
going to
I'm
make
not
him.
talking about Stockholm syndrome.
No. That's gonna make her kick it. Make him kick her
Make
ass.
him kick
So
her butt,
so
right.
right. So she starts walking on eggshells. So when you talk about how we have to understand this white fragility and we have to walk gingerly because of it, I'm saying why? Because then the abuser is going to be more abusive.
No, what I'm saying to you, Eric, is this, and there are ways in which you deliver people the truth. Sometimes you have to spoon feed them, and sometimes you have to hit them over the head to see it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is this, right? That the moderate says spoon feed them, right? While you're still getting your ass whooped, but you'll get your ass whooped less and less each time, right?
Well, I'm not talking
Until
about
some
getting.
point you don't get your ass whooped
I'm
anymore,
I'm not in a position to actually take a AW.
right?
But what I am saying is this, Eric, and let me be perfectly clear that our world is built for us to coexist, for us to be together, for there to be unity, and we cannot always derive that, and by smacking people over the head and go, "Bam! See the truth?" No. Sometimes with some people, it takes a little level of patience and understanding.
No. But hear
so they
what
get
I'm
to
saying,
develop.
Vincent. I'm not even talking about smacking them over the head. I'm saying put your hands up so they don't smack you anymore. See, understand what I'm saying to you? I'm not saying, look, dude,
Okay.
I didn't say go in their rooms. I said just don't let them in ours. See, that's all I said. But letting him in our room, in our conversation, to you translate somehow in us being aggressive toward them. I'm saying no.
That's not what I
Whatever they're
translated
doing,
as,
they're
Eric.
doing. We gotta
Eric,
handle
I
our
did-
business.
Eric, I didn't translate that as being aggressive. What I did was translate that as being. I'm translating that as we need to be more inclusive.
No, but right. Translation, and if you're not inclusive, then it's a sledgehammer. Right? And I'm going, no, I'm just not inclusive. I'm saying to you, I got some business to deal with. And if you feel some sort of way about it, I'm sorry, you got to handle that. That's on you. See, it's not for me to be, listen, Vincent, it is not for me as a foundational black American to be the therapist of a fragile white person. Let me say that to you again. As a foundational black American who has experienced micro and macroaggressions that have left me damaged, right? It is not my responsibility as I work toward healing myself, my children, my loved ones, and my community to be a goddamn therapist for a white person suffering from white fragility.
Well, it is my responsibility, and I feel that it is my responsibility being a man of color who have experienced a lot of things in which I don't even talk about. But yet it's my responsibility being a man of color, even dealing with white people, letting them see or understand from my experience, how it has led and what it has changed and what we need to do to work together so that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. You know what's interesting?
Well, are we translating us coming into a room together as a people to formulate an agenda to move us forward, right? That's not us not including them, right? Because when we come out of that room, right, then if we fix our problems, then we can live with them inclusively,
Right.
So don't we have to fix it first? Don't we have to have an agenda first?
Right.
And do they have to be a part of the actual exercise of coming up to that space?
But you know what? You know what's scary about this conversation? Here's what's scary about this conversation, right? It reminds me of the culture on the plantation, right? Where black folk were afraid, or in fact told not to, gather in large numbers because they may be plotting against the master, right? And so that's what this sounds like. So we can't go in these rooms because if we're too many of us in there, master might be uncomfortable. and might think that we trying to plot to be free. Well, goddamn right. That's exactly what we're doing. We're plotting to free ourselves. And I'm telling you that. And I want you out of the room while I plot to free myself. And if you ain't okay with that, then that's on you.
You don't want us to move.
Right.
Well,
And
see,
I ain't trying
that
to,
you get
and
me
I'm
over
not
it.
trying to rub salve or anything to comfort your white fragility. I am tired of being on the plantation. I am tired of all of the micro and macro aggressions. I want to tell you, listen, I wear my ADOS stuff all the time, right? And it's very interesting watching the fragility of white people. Like this, I was in, where was I? I was down 202. I forgot the name of the town, Flemington, right? And I was at a farmer's market. It was a nice little farmer's market. And, you know, the white folks were friendly enough. And so one white lady, she felt the need to engage me. So she goes, oh, I'm trying to read what's on your face mask. She goes, American descendants of... And then she read slavery to herself. She read the other words out loud. But when she got to the word slavery, she just kind of, you know, her voice just kind of fell off and she went, see, I can't, like, I need you to understand who I am. I need you to fully embrace that, right? No, I'm not trying to assimilate. I need you to understand and then identify all of the pain, all of the whatever. I want you to know. When you see me, I want you to know that I am a damaged motherfucker, damaged because of what this country has done, and I'm working on healing myself.
Well, here is this is where that gets into a level of danger, Eric, because there is the huge cliche, until you are healed, hurt people tend to hurt people.
Oh, no doubt. Now, look, I'm not even going to say that that's not true. So I'm saying so that I don't hurt your feelings. Right? So I don't hurt you. Just move. Just move. Now, if you want to be helpful to me, just you leave your number here, right? When the time comes, if the time comes, I'll give you a call. But don't try to push yourself into my space. And that's what I'm saying about Mika and Joe Scarborough and the rest of these white. You need to move out of the way. See, because I'm going to say some stuff, right, that's going to hurt you. Right? I'm not talking about physical hurt, but yeah, the way I move, the way I talk, your feelings going to get hurt. Right? But you know what? If you are true about wanting what I want for me, equality, right, you're going to embrace that. Right? You're going to realize some things and you're going to step out of the way. But like it says in the book, White Fragility, what happens instead of that is the white people tense up, they become defensive and argumentative, and they start calling me a racist. See? See? And then no, I'm not going to let you do that to me. No, I'm not a racist because I want to heal myself and I want to be freed off of this plantation. I'm not a racist for that.
Right? And based on your history, based on our history, we can't trust that they want us to do that.
That's absolutely right. And if you can't acknowledge that, if you just can't acknowledge that, if you want to still push yourself through the room, then you got a problem. Then I'm trusting you less. See, the more you push into the room that I'm telling you to stay out of, the less I trust you.
Well, with me, it's more like, you know, when my wife and I have an agenda that we want to, you know, we meet first and then we bring our children in. And sometimes that does need to happen in relationships. I mean, it's not that we're excluding them, but we need to make sure that we're on point with our direction and then move it to theirs. In terms of the black agenda and moving it, and we discussed this on the floor, where we go next has a facet of different directions because every black person has a different agenda.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, where we go from here, these are the token ameliorations, right? These are the token ameliorations. We got to watch out for them. And what I'm saying to you is that right now, right, the fight. We talked about a cataclysmic collision, right? And to me, one of those cataclysmic collisions is this George Floyd bill, right? And so I want to see, like Dr. King said, blacks aren't fighting enough, whites aren't giving up enough, right? And this here requires blacks to fight harder and for whites to give up something.
I think
And
blacks
right
are
now,
fighting
what's happening is this: blacks are saying, let's compromise because the fight is too
Yeah.
hard.
No, I think right now the way it's looking, blacks are saying we're not compromising because they have the motivation and momentum. They have the victory of this case. They have more people getting involved and wanting to push this bill forward.
So then, if that's the case, then what is Ilhan Omar talking about? Wait a minute. But if what you're saying is true, Vincent, what is?
Eric,
Go ahead.
even in California, they announced now that they have now inducted and starting to bring in their own laws of
No, okay, fine. But what I'm asking you is this: if that is the case, then what is Ilhan talking about? What is Rashida talking about?
I have no idea. I didn't read that statement.
So I read it, right? Again, I'm going to reiterate the facts, right? That they are watering, this is the George Floyd bill that was passed in the House, right? It's not the George Floyd bill that's going to make it to the Senate, right? And this all happened overnight. So you have to ask yourself, like, well, what happened that we got to that place? So now there's a new bill being constructed. I even gave you some of the sentiments of the bill. The one big one that stuck out to me was that in the George Floyd bill, it is that chokeholds are going to be illegal across the country, federal law, right? Instead, this Corey bill that he's working on would be, instead of making it illegal for a police officer in this country to chokehold, there will be a fine that they will basically say, you should, well, long story short, if a police department does not mandate that chokeholds are illegal, and a black man should die under a chokehold, then the federal government can fine that police department, right? What, to me, and maybe I'm stupid or slow, I don't know, but to me, that is definitely a watering down. And they've made it perfectly clear that they're doing this watering down of the bill in order to make it more accessible, in order to get that Republican vote, right? Well, let's not mince words about that, right? Let's not try and make that fuzzy, right? Let's be honest about at least that. That much like you talked about last week, that this bill, it's a hard stop, right? It's not going to easily go through the Senate, and it's going to need a filibuster and all these things we talked about, right? So they're trying to stop that. So what they decided is to temper down justice. That's what that is. Let's temper down justice. Let's temper down a hard line against the death of our sons and daughters so that we can pass this bill. So then, to me, and what most Americans, not just black Americans, but most Americans should see is that they watered down justice.
Yeah. And now, I'm gonna let you talk, Vincent, and then I want to say one final thing before we close out. Go ahead.
I think that we are now in the precipice of change. What we need to do is keep our foot on the gas. What we've been saying since this COVID thing started, and everybody's starting to be awakened. Let us keep our foot on the gas. If not, we'll be in the same situation next year.
Okay. Now, what I want to say is this, guys. Like I always tell you, keep your eyes open, right? Because one of the other things that's happening now is we're looking at. Somebody asked me about this teenage girl who was shot, or Adam Toledo who was shot, and I'm telling you, the media right now, they're dangerous. They're dangerous. They're dangerous, because the media is creating confusion about what's just and what's unjust, right? So you've got a kid who is running down an alleyway with a gun, and he ditches the gun, he conceals his hand, and then exposes it, the same hand that had a gun, in a fraction of a second to an officer who doesn't have time to respond to whether the guy has a gun or not and shoots him. In the media, they post a freeze frame photo of the young man with his hands up, giving the impression that his hands were up the entire time, instead of having a real conversation about why he was out at 2-something in the morning with an adult with a gun, right? And so they kind of create the confusion in the middle of the George Floyd thing, right? Then you have this young lady who was shot, who was wielding a knife, right? Lunging, and somebody posted, they said, did he take a life or did he save a life? Talking about the police officer.
That
right?
was social media that did it. That's why you find that the same thing with Toledo and this young lady. The police were very quickly to show the full police cam.
But the point that I'm trying to get to is this. See, the George Floyd thing was like straight no chaser, right? Something that was a gut punch. What they're doing now is they're watering it down by showing you these other things. They're creating maximum sophisticated confusion. Do you understand? And so now, in the middle of this, what they have is, because what they can do by doing that is they gin up the other side, right? They create opposition now, right? Because now you have in the black community, because folks are confused, right? And then now you start arguing against the cop who was justified in a shooting. And so now the people over there go, see, they're unreasonable. They're unreasonable. This is why we don't want to move with this law, because they're unreasonable. See, we have to, and this is why I say, get them out of the room. See, because they want to be in a room and they want to create confusion. They don't want us to have equality. They want us fighting and they want us confused. See, the fact of what happened to George Floyd is different than Adam Toledo and this other woman, and we got to be clear on that. But they're churning our emotions right now in the community, right? And so now you got a whole bunch of people over there going, see, they don't even know. They don't even know. 1 minute they want to blame a cop, the next minute they want to do this, but then they call the cops when they need the cops. See, and then we're not giving them that. See, we got to stay focused, but we need them out of the room. We need them out of the room.
And a lot of people ask me about that situation because social media had pushed it like another black teenager shot by police, killed by the police. And that was all on the social media, in which they didn't show that the girl with the knife. They just showed, the part of her being shot. They didn't show the guy who had a chance to stop her, turn and kicked another girl in the head.
Right, but it wasn't just on social media. But see, I want you to even understand. So when you say, so I'm saying it was on mainstream media too. But even when you talk about social media, right? Because we had these conversations as well, right? Social media runs their algorithms.
Okay,
to put on your page what they want. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Tomorrow's Friday. I look forward to it. Yo, we got the big chill here in New Jersey. Dress warm, guys. Love you. Talk to you tomorrow.